Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Prime Minister Modi is addressing Indian diaspora at a SAP center in California as he wraps his visit to the Silicon Valley. That is the biggest story of the day. Also, India is reaching for the stars. The AstroSat will be launched in a barely 2 hours from now. That is another top focus. Let us begin the bulletin, though, with the headlines. Prime Minister's big pitch for Digital India tells top CEOs at the Silicon Valley that this is an enterprise for transformation of India in a scale unmatched in human history. Modi's big date with Facebook and Google attends town hall question and answer hosted by Facebook head Mark Zuckerberg, visits Google headquarters. CEO Sundar Pichai announces Google's project to install Wi-Fi connections in 500 railway stations across India. It could be another big moment for India in space. ISRO to launch its first space observatory, AstroSat, at 10 a.m. from Sriharikota. First time in more than 30 years, the supermoon lunar eclipse, where the moon is visibly bigger and brighter, has occurred. And the Indian death toll in the Hajj tragedy has risen to 35 as Saudi Arabia revises the death figures to 1,090. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is addressing the Indian diaspora at a mammoth reception in San Jose's SAP Center, where the organizers have promised an event as grand as the one held in New York's Madison Square Garden last year. A colorful program is in progress with an 18,500 strong audience. Close to 45,000 people are attending the event, even though the stadium can seat only 18,000. For the rest, who will be outside the venue, massive television screens have been put up and other arrangements have been made. Remember, California has the largest population of non-resident Indians in the US, with a heavy concentration of them in the Bay Area. Now, a record number of tickets have been sold for the event. Well, let's cut across live to SAP Center in San Jose, where the Prime Minister is addressing the Indian diaspora.
21वीं सदी हिंदुस्तान की सदी है, ये आज दुनिया मानने लग गई है। ये बदलाव क्यों आया? ये बदलाव कैसे आया? ये बदलाव मोदी 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 के कारण नहीं आया। ये बदलाव 125 करोड़ देशवासियों के संकल्प शक्ति से आया है। 125 करोड़ देशवासियों ने ठान ली है, मन में संकल्प कर लिया है कि अब हिंदुस्तान पीछे नहीं रहेगा। और जब जनता जनार्दन संकल्प करती है तो ईश्वर के भी आशीर्वाद मिलते हैं। सारा विश्व जो कल तक हिंदुस्तान को हाशिए पर देखता था, आज वह हिंदुस्तान को केंद्र बिंदु के रूप में देख रहा है।
Well, a Madison Square Garden moment there for the Silicon Valley. Well, the high point for Modi's visit to the Silicon Valley was his visit to the Facebook and Google campus. At Facebook, Modi faced questions from the head of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg himself, who said that India must lead the world in the field of social media. At Google, CEO Sundar Pichai announced partnering with Indian Railways to install high-speed Wi-Fi at 500 Indian railway stations.
The much-anticipated meeting at the Facebook headquarters. Mark Zuckerberg welcoming Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a town hall question and answer session. The Facebook head said he considers India a temple of knowledge from where he took inspiration to build Facebook more than 10 years ago. In the 45-minute session, the Prime Minister spoke about the benefits of social media, particularly how it has been useful to him to connect with the people within the country and abroad, and how it can help take corrective steps if some government steps go wrong.
आज सोशल मीडिया की ताकत है कि किसी भी सरकार को वो गलत करता है तो रोकता है, गलत करने से डरता है और गलती सुधारने का अवसर पहले 5 साल में एक बार चुनाव के बाद होता था, आज हर 5 मिनट के बाद होता है। गवर्नमेंट जागरूक है, सतर्क है, कॉन्शियस है, तो रियल टाइम इंफॉर्मेशन से वो करेक्टिव मेजर्स ले सकते हैं, पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क बना सकते हैं और काम की गति को बहुत बढ़ा सकते हैं.
As a mark of support to the government's Digital India initiative, the Facebook CEO expressed support to the project and changed his profile picture, showing him with the Indian tricolour.
So I'm deeply appreciative of Prime Minister Modi's commitment to Digital India, to make this enormous opportunity a reality for all Indians. And I'm personally also impressed by the example Prime Minister Modi has set of using the internet and social media to communicate directly with Indian citizens.
But as Zuckerberg himself later put it, the high point of the session was when he questioned the Prime Minister about the role of his mother in his life. Modi choked and broke down while talking about the sacrifices his mother made while raising him. Modi also congratulated Zuckerberg's parents who were present at the event for raising a son who has connected the world. Modi's next halt was the Google headquarters, where its CEO Sundar Pichai explained navigational, safety and other uses of Street View and Google Earth. He was also shown India's iconic Taj Mahal and northern holy city of Varanasi on the satellite imaging software. Google gave a tour of its 4 critical projects to Modi. The Prime Minister was given a view of Project Iris, a smart lens that measures glucose levels. But the biggest takeaway of the visit was Google announcing it's working with the Indian Railways to install high-speed Wi-Fi connections in 500 railway stations across India.
भारत का रेलवे और गूगल मिलकर के 500 रेलवे स्टेशंस पर वाईफाई का बड़ा अभियान कर रहे हैं और भारत की रेलवे मतलब यूरोप का एक देश पूरी तरह हमारे यहाँ रेलवे में होता है.
We are very excited. We are starting with 100 of the busiest railway stations. 10 million passengers go through that every day, and we hope to expand it to 400 stations by the end of next year. And we are talking about high definition video streaming being possible on these connections. So this is very, very high speed for that.
The Silicon Valley visit was a highlight of Modi's visit to the US West Coast. This is the first by any Indian Prime Minister in more than 30 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, one of the objectives of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the US was to seek support for his government's Digital India initiative. He told top leaders of technology giants in San Jose exactly what his government is aiming to achieve with the internet and how could they help. On Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi pitched the Digital India initiative to over 350 American business leaders.
From creating infrastructure to services, from manufacture of products to human resources, development from support governments to enabling citizens and promoting digital literacy, Digital India is a vast cyber world of opportunities for you. The task is huge. The challenges are many, but we also know that we will not reach new destination without taking new roads.
Modi also put his faith in social media, whose exponential speed and scale of expansion, he said, could rapidly transform lives of those who have stood on the margins of hope.
Our relationship is also defined by the power of youth, technology and innovation. This can ignite a partnership that will advance and sustain prosperity in our two countries. Even more, in this digital age, we can draw on the strength of our values and partnership to shape a better and more sustainable future for the world.
Indian-born CEOs Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai of Microsoft Corp and Google moderated a panel before Modi's speech. The Prime Minister announced that Google will bring wireless internet to over 500 Indian railway stations.
We believe low-cost broadband connectivity coupled with the scale of the cloud computing and the intelligence that can be harnessed from data can help drive creativity, efficiency, and productivity across governments and businesses of all sizes. This in turn will drive more affordable products, services, and access to opportunity for all of India.
Paul E. Jacobs, the executive chairman of Qualcomm, also felt that under Modi's leadership, India was moving in the right direction.
Roughly 10 billion rupee or $150 million fund to fuel innovation and foster promising Indian startups. So that money will be invested in Indian startups who are contributing to startups that are contributing in the mobile and Internet of Everything ecosystem. And we're very excited about the prospects there. We've actually been investing.
After Morarji Desai and Indira Gandhi, Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit West Coast in over 30 years. During his trip, Modi also met Apple Inc. Chief Executive Tim Cook. He also saw the Tesla Motors facility and discussed renewable energy with its Chief Executive Elon Musk. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Well, Prime Minister's Silicon Valley push for the digital revolution drew an enthusiastic response from the US entrepreneurs who appreciated his outreach to the technological leaders. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley termed Modi's US visit as a new milestone, but the opposition had its reservations.
My great privilege to welcome.
Even as Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised to make governance more accountable and transparent in San Jose, his digital dream got a thumbs up from Indian business leaders in the US.
Having these investments coming from outside is India can grow further, and this is a very important event Modi ji is doing in especially Silicon Valley. And this gives the greatest exposure to the world.
It is great to see for us the Prime Minister of India taking the initiative to acknowledge this investment, come here himself and spend his own time, and give a vote of confidence to everyone in the ecosystem here that he's willing to support it and create trust and confidence in investors.
Speaking before a gathering of Silicon Valley CEOs, Modi made several announcements, including creating more public Wi-Fi spots, an aggressive expansion of the national optical fiber network to take broadband to 6 lakh villages. The push for Digital India was appreciated by the BJP. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said global corporates want to increase business with India and heads of governments now want to deal with India on a new wavelength. The opposition, however, alleged that the Prime Minister was taking credit for work done by the previous regime.
They should welcome the digital push which will create new avenues of entrepreneurship in India. It will give avenues for millions of jobs. It will create usher technologies in India.
The current government is only reaping the benefit of the very solid foundations in the telecom arena or in the entire mobile revolution arena, which was laid by successive governments, especially the Congress governments between 1991 and 1996, and again between 2004 and 2014.
With the Digital India push, Modi hopes to attract funds and skills from US innovators in technology manufacturing. The government hopes its technological push will provide electronic governance and universal phone connectivity to bridge India's digital divide. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. All right, Mr. Varghese George is the political editor with The Hindu, is now joining us from the US. Thank you so much, Mr. Varghese, for joining us. Now, Mr. Varghese, there's a lot of excitement around Modi's overall visit to the United States. But what are the real takeaways from Modi's West Coast visit?
Well, the Prime Minister himself has succinctly put the entire agenda of this tour. He said that if you want to invest, the address is India. I mean, India is where you should invest. That is actually the message that he's trying to carry to a host of potential investors, investment bankers, manufacturers in all sectors. He met with the defense sector, he met with the media sector, and now in Silicon Valley he's tried to woo digital industry, digital and electronics industry. Most particularly, he actually tried to create or present India as a place where he wants to create a startup culture. So there are special efforts, special emphasis being given to spur a startup revolution in India. So I think if he manages to convince potential investors from the US to come in India, that will help him, his campaign for making India and this entire push that he wants to give to manufacturing sector in India.
All right, Prime Minister Modi, they're giving a big push to Digital India. Thank you so much, Mr. Varghese, for joining us this morning. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will call on President Obama later today in New York. The summit meeting is expected to feature a range of bilateral and global issues. Also on the agenda are poverty eradication, new millennium developmental goals, and our climate change. Our correspondent, Krishnanand Tripathi, has more on the meeting.
After the CEOs, the Silicon Valley interactions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi all set to meet US President Barack Obama for the third time in New York. The White House says both leaders will build on the economic and commercial relations between the two nations and advance political and security cooperation in Asia and around the world.
Visit of Prime Minister to US is crucial for two reasons. One is the poverty and climate change is back on focus. We missed MDG goals. So globally we missed MDG goals. So this is the second global agenda. We are going to get back the developmental perspectives. So this visit is crucial from that angle.
On Friday, United Nations adopted 170 targets for the 17 Millennium Development Goals for the next 15 years. Intended to wipe out poverty, fight inequality and tackle climate change, India's role is considered very crucial in achieving them as it is home to 1/3 of the world's poorest. Both leaders are also expected to discuss upcoming climate meetings in Paris and other WTO-related issues.
Where the United Nations is going to take up, the Sustainable Development Goals for the next 15 years. So how far the countries like US and India and G20 nations together are going to address these very long-term issues.
In a speech at the Sustainable Development Meet on Friday, Prime Minister Modi urged developed countries to fulfill their financial commitments on development and climate change. He also reminded rich countries that the latest technological innovations should be turned into an effective instrument for global public good and not just for private profit. Krishnanand Tripathi's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, Mr. Varghese George is with us from the United States. Mr. Varghese, now what are the expectations from the all-important meeting between PM Modi and US President Barack Obama?
All-important meeting. Well, there are a lot of things I'm sure will come up in the meeting between Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This will be the third meeting after Prime Minister Narendra Modi took office. Yes. And from the indications from the White House, there was a statement from the White House which clearly stated that climate change would be a notable agenda on the meeting, a part of that meeting. And there will be a host of bilateral issues which will come up. And of course, India's bid for the permanent membership in the UN Security Council also will be part of it. And defense tie-up, cyber governance, a raft of issues which are part of Indo-US bilateral agenda. All of them will find mention. But I think the key focus could likely be on and related issues, and the situation in South Asia will also be part of that agenda.
All right, so PM Modi to hold his third bilateral meet with US President Barack Obama. A lot of expectations from that meeting. We'll get you all the details on that as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Verghese, for joining us and sharing your perspective on that story. And time now to take a very short break, but coming up after that, ISRO to launch its first space observatory, AstroSat, at 10 a.m. from Sriharikota. We'll get you all the details. Stay with us for that and much more.
Political slugfest intensifies in Bihar. Regional leaders fight a do-or-die battle. Who wins Bihar and who loses relevance? Watch Verdict 2015 on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. News from the national capital now. Well, 3 more people have succumbed to dengue, taking the death toll to 33. The latest victim is a 13-year-old boy who suffered internal bleeding and died at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. The official MCD death figures is yet to be revised from 17. The Delhi government has recently ordered that no hospital should deny admission to a dengue patient. Nearly 1,700 fresh dengue cases have been reported in the city in the past 1 week, taking the total number of people affected by dengue to 5,471. Last year, the city had reported 3 deaths and recorded nearly 1,000 dengue cases. And now our special segment on Verdict 2015. Well, news from a poll-bound state of Bihar, where Chief Election Commissioner Naseem Zaidi will hold review meetings today with the top officials to take stock of the situation for polls in the state. Chief Election Commissioner will be holding review meetings with Chief Secretary, Home Secretary and top police officers today. Zaidi will be meeting with the Commissioner, IGs, DIGs, DEOs, SSPs, SPs of the Assembly constituencies going to the polls in the first 3 phases. The EC is also scheduled to hold a press conference later today. Naseem Zaidi on Sunday met representatives of political parties to take feedback from them for conducting free and fair assembly polls in the state. During the 2-hour meet, political leaders highlighted various problems and also raised concerns over the use of money power to woo voters. Now, today is the last day for filing nominations for the second phase of polls that will be held on 16th of October. The scrutiny will be completed on 29th of September, while last date for withdrawal of candidature is 1st of October. Polling for the second phase will take place on 16th. And in other news, if all goes well, India will be the first country in the developing world to have its very own telescope in space. Well, it is all set to launch a mini Hubble-type space observatory, a major step forward for the emerging powers' increasingly capable space program. The 50-hour-long countdown for India's first dedicated astronomy satellite started on 26th of September at 8 a.m. Now, ISRO will launch Indian rocket carrying 7 satellites, including India's first space observatory, AstroSat, from Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota at 10 a.m. The PSLV will be carrying a total payload of 1,631 kilograms during this mission. Now, AstroSat, with a lifespan of 5 years, is India's first dedicated multi-wavelength space observatory that will help in understanding the universe. The satellite is really akin to a mythical third eye of Lord Shiva, as it can view the cosmos in ways the human eye is not capable of observing. It will be used to study black holes and analyze how stars and galaxies are actually born and how they ultimately die. If it is successful, India will be the first state in the developing world to have placed its own telescope in space. The moon visibly bigger and brighter. It is after more than 30 years that this rare phenomenon called super moon lunar eclipse has occurred. It will be at its closest point to the Earth near eclipse time. Now, sky watchers can see a wonderful progression of colors from white to grey to coppery reds on the moon. The supermoon lunar eclipse will be visible to people in the Americas on 27th of September and visible to those in Western Europe and parts of Africa early on 28th of September. Now, NASA claims the supermoon last coincided with the lunar eclipse in 1982 and is not expected to again happen until 2033. And in other news, the death toll of Indian pilgrims in last week's horrific stampede during Hajj rose to 35. Now, several are still untraceable after the stampede on 24th of September. Meanwhile, the Saudi authorities have released the photographs of 1,090 pilgrims who perished in the stampede.
Dozens of Indians are still missing days after the worst tragedy at the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Worried relatives are seeking any information available of their loved ones. Sadly, the MEA confirmed that the latest number of the dead Indian pilgrims has gone up to 35. 6 more bodies have been identified by the Hajj consulate in Jeddah.
ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हज कमीशन वालों की बनती है कि वो कम से कम इसमें हमारा साथ दें खोजने में या फिर कोई भी सिंपैथी कॉल अभी तक कोई ऐसा इन्फॉर्मेशन उनकी तरफ से नहीं आया है.
However, diplomats are suggesting that the Indian death toll is relatively low in comparison to other countries, as India has been carrying out intense safety drills in Mecca. Meanwhile, the Saudi authorities have revised stampede toll to 1,090. They have released photographs of all those who perished in the tragedy. Scores of Iranian demonstrators are still protesting outside the Saudi embassy in the Iranian capital. But Saudi authorities advised Iran not to play politics with the tragedy.
اینطور که شواهد نشون میده واقعا عمدی در کار بوده واقعا باید مجامع جنایی پیگیر باشن و اسناد از اینها بخوان کمیته هایی تشکیل بشه و برن بررسی بکنن و به دادگاه‌های بین‌المللی شکایت بشه.
Students the two holy mosques issued directives to launch a thorough investigation that will be transparent. I believe that the Iranians should know better than to try to play politics with a tragedy that has befallen people who were performing their most sacred religious duty, which is the pilgrimage.
Saudi King Salman has ordered the formation of a committee to probe the deadly incident. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And in more international news, well, in a formal meeting after more than 2 years, US President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin are all set to meet in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA. The meeting comes at a time of intense tension in Europe and the Middle East. Obama's aides say that the situation in Ukraine is at the top of the agenda. The US has pressed all sides to respect the ceasefire in Ukraine and to find a resolution to the fighting. But the Kremlin insists the main focus of the UNGA would be on Syria, where Russia has sent military forces and equipment in support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Obama will also seek to gain clarity on the motivations behind Russia's recent military build-up in Syria. The organization's internal issues will also be on the table. 193 members of the UNGA are set to discuss reform of the Security Council, an issue which has been debated for decades. Now, G4 leaders from Brazil, Germany, India and Japan have issued a joint statement saying that they will insist on reforming the UNSC in a bid to receive permanent membership. Well, that's all in this edition of news. But before we wrap up the bulletin, we'll leave you with the soulful voice of the Nightingale of India. Here is wishing Bharat Ratna Lata Mangeshkar a very happy birthday. Thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead. अब तो है तुम से